the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California won the big game.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes!
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vane, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
Rick Watson's got the mic, he's the big dog king. Cover sports so sharp, it's a New River thing. Virginia Tech fire, Radford pride too. Every stat, every play, he's bringing it to you. He's got that voice, deep as a valley, breaking it down, no dilly, no dally. Big dog sports talk, feel the bark, feel the bite. Rick's in the zone, every day, every night, from the Hokies to the Highlanders. He's got the spark, Big dog sports talk, lighten up the dark. He's got the scoop, faster than a sprint. Calling plays like a coach, every word's a hint. From the courts to the fields, the stories unfold. Rick's play-by-play, worth its weight in gold. With a laugh and a growl, he'll pull you in. Big Dog's podcast, let the games begin. Big Dog Sports Talk, feel the bark, feel the bite. Rick's in the zone, every day, every night, from the Hokies to the Highlanders. He's got the spark, Big Dog Sports Talk, lighten up the dark. Sports talk, feel the bark, feel the bite. Rick's in the zone, every day, every night, from the Hokies to the Highlanders. He's got the spark, Big Dog Sports Talk, lighten up the dark. Big Dog Sports Talk, feel the bark, feel the bite. Rick's in the zone, every day, every night, from the Hokies to the Highlanders. He's got the spark, Big Dog Sports Talk, lighten up the dark.
How are you? And welcome to the program here on a Monday after the 250th birthday of the United States of America. Join us in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. Hit us up on the professional door text line, 391-0788. Don't forget that You need to hit up Professional Door the entire month of July, because if you call them and set up your appointment, you get $40 off. You go and preventative maintenance is what it's called on your garage doors. Give them a call, 674-0008. Just tell them you heard us talking about it on the show. Again, you don't have to have the service done in July, but it has to be scheduled in July. 674-0008. Don't let your garage doors go neglected. Even if you think they're okay, but they haven't been looked at in a while, you probably want to call Travis Williams, right? 674-0008. Don't forget about the Bash. It's coming up at the NRV Super Bowl on July the 18th. We'd love to see you there, 540-382-5525. They had a great 4th of July weekend at the Super Bowl, and we're looking very forward to being there and being hosted by all those folks. Good morning, Prometheus. How are you doing? So come on out and see us. Coach Elmo, who's on the show today, is going to be there. And we're going to ask some of our other regulars to be there, plus you and us. We'll have a great time. Sundown Electric, one of the best reputations of any business in our area. Attention to detail, clear communications. Thanks to the Smith brothers. Give them a call today, or call or text Bob Christ if you have a different need here, which is trying to raise money for your school, your team, your church, whatever it might be. ReadySetFund.com. Bob Christ, CRST11 @gmail. That's how you reach out to him. Or if you need to refinance or you're frustrated with your current bank, give National Bank member FDIC a call. Go down there and see some of the fine folks. Actually, just go in person. They have the nicest folks everywhere. Thanks to Larry Ramsey, my exclusive banking partner, and they should be yours. The BDSD fan question of the week. We need one. Wayne, where are you? You help us out a lot. 701 West Main Street in Radford, Trust and Estate Planning from the attorney Ryan Pry. Little River Heating and Air. Seeing the trucks everywhere because of the air units are getting a lot of use. You know, last week it was so hot. We're getting a little bit of relief this week. 540-553-2971. We're presented each and every day by Pulaski County Sports Entertainment. Great to connect with Jonathan Sweet. I am going to go up there this week. I think I'm going to aim at Thursday, getting up there and checking out the Sportsplex. We'll take some video. As I'm going to be on Wednesday at McClellan Chiropractic, and we're going to film some stuff over there as I'm going through the gauntlet. So Mark Hundley, 155 Walters Drive. And don't forget, each and every day, we broadcast live from the Family Fencing Studios, 540-200-8294. Thanks to Jason Green. Get your quote and get your fence up today. Thanks to Brandon at Top Shelf Apparel, 4377 Lee Highway. And James Lawson, 540-381-8011, 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg. Parts for your home, plumbing, windows, doors, whatever it might be. Do I believe the Super Bowl was greater than soccer? Well, that's a great question. Flavio, did I say that right? Welcome, by the way. Please subscribe. That's a great question. Now, in terms of television viewing, I don't know what the numbers look like worldwide for the World Cup. We're talking about the entire world's sport against America's football. That would be one that, as an American, oh, hey, how you doing, Flavio? Welcome from Brazil. We have 15 countries represented as subscribers. We don't have a Brazilian subscriber yet. So if you want to be the first, that's a great question. For us here, clearly it is, without any doubt, right? It's not even close. But worldwide, I don't know. And I don't know how they do all the numbers at the other. But, I guess we can, since being broadcast here on American television, I guess we can find that out. But it is greater for Americans, there's no question. Just like I'm sure, obviously, World Cup's bigger for Brazilians than it is for American football, though you have an appreciation, right, for American football. I know we've played games down there. Sorry about the result against Norway. And England, who won our fan question of the week, beat Mexico shorthanded 3-2. So, I think Americans are trying to embrace soccer. There's a lot of things that just naturally we don't like, flopping being the thing, and the officiating. And President Trump goes to the head of FIFA and says, hey, we need to talk about you suspending our best player for a ridiculous call, and they reversed the call. So now he's going to play. That's tonight. Is that not tonight? Yeah, against Belgium at 8 o'clock. That's going to that will be viewed heavily. That will be viewed heavily. There's absolutely no question. Yep. But we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. We'll see what it looks like. But anyway, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift got married. So on the 4th of July, she's not made her political, what either one of them have. They haven't hidden about their political agenda. She's talking about how bad capitalism is and how bad America is and blah, blah, blah. She's a billionaire. So they rent out Madison Square Garden for the wedding. And all these shots of people showing up, $1 million dresses and all this. And Kelsey got all the guys like watches that were like $400,000. I'm like, they don't care. They don't live in the real world. So there's no concern for self-awareness. She has $1 billion. And then it comes out that she made him sign a 40-page prenuptial agreement. Look, I know people do prenups. There's also in that 40-page prenuptial agreement, if he strays and she's not, I mean, does anybody think Taylor Swift's attractive? If he strays and has an affair, she gets $20 million from him. You can't make it up. Yeah, boy, nothing like true love with a 40-page prenup that apparently they've been working on for months. They're the lawyers for each side. So that happened over the weekend. Yeah, I was too, Prometheus. It was ridiculous. The call was ridiculous. The punishment. Then you find out that the AR who made it was shady. Had already been suspended in the past. Why is he allowed back in the World Cup? See, these are the kind of things, Flavor Lima, that we don't understand. What we do understand about the officiating anomalies because we can't stand NFL officiating in this country. I get that. We do relate to that. And I said this last week. By the way, I saw several articles saying exactly what I said on the program when I talked about how the one thing we have in common with soccer fans is how officiating drives the entire world nuts. And I saw headlines almost verbatim. You're welcome. So yeah, we do share on that, but there's a lot of parts of it we don't understand. And one we'll never latch on to because it's not what Americans want out of their sport is the sloppy. It's why we single out the guys in the NBA, like LeBron, who have made a career out of the exaggerated, the flop, it's embarrassing. It's ridiculous. You can say it's gamesmanship all you want, but it just lessens the whole appeal if you're a non-soccer nation. And I know we've seen a gradual increase in youth soccer and things of that nature. But like I said, you look at college rosters throughout America, and I don't know what the research would tell you. The percentage has to be 30 or 40% are from international players coming over to play here for education and, So I don't know exactly how much it's grown. It has grown, but I don't know the percentage, I should say. But I do think America's done a nice job of hosting it. I think that it's going to end up benefiting all of us who are American football fans because I think in the long run, this is going to persuade the moronic Roger Goodell and the owners who already are billionaires that they need to put grass fields in all their stadiums. The players are raising holy hell about it. I saw some more chatter about it this weekend. I think they have felt like they didn't have a leg to stand on with that. They go out and they just play because they're making lots of money, but clearly it's a safer, I mean, they make a big deal out of it with FIFA. So you know that it has been done. I trust that that research has been done. Brian says, I'm kind of surprised Taylor and Travis Swift. Travis Swift. Love it. Didn't televise the wedding to make money. Just two despicable human beings, by the way. They're just. And by the way, because the kicker, Harrison Butker, is that his name? I guess is a Christian, has spoken out about his beliefs. He didn't get invited to the wedding. He invited the entire team but the kicker. Now, why the Chiefs organization and Andy Reid signed off on that, I don't know. Just despicable people. But there you go. Let's just go ahead and rent out Madison Square Garden. We don't want any attention, but yet we do this. Wow. You know, Josh Allen married Haley Atwell, an actress who is actually very attractive. And he is a much better football player than Travis Kelce. He might be the best quarterback. You know what? He is. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. And they just went and had some private family and friends, didn't make a big deal out of it. Didn't rent out Madison Square Garden and close off half the city on the 4th of July. Pretentiousness beyond belief. But they don't care because they have all the money in the world. And she knows that her fans, the Swifties, will just, oh, this is so wonderful for her. This is so great. Of course she should have a prenup. He better not hurt her. Prometheus says, when I played, I didn't want the opposing team to think they were more physical than me. Flopping was a sign of weakness. Yeah. Yeah, now you're just willing to go out there and do that. And kudos to college women's soccer because, like I said, I don't see it in the Radford games that I call. When the women get toppled, if they're down, they're hurt. Like if you see a female player go down in these games, and a lot of times they get their legs, there's contact or their legs get tangled up, she's got an issue. And she'll be pounding on the ground, and you can tell the strength. But when you see the guys, they just kind of, even the AR, it's officiated differently. The collegiate officials will just go, keep it going. Well, he'll get up in a second. We know. From 1776 forward, I'm so proud of this great country. Be proud, people. It's still a country of free speech. Our Constitution makes us unique, grand, and one that has walls to keep people out, not in. Thanks, Morris. Good morning. Absolutely. I was impressed. I wasn't going to pay attention to the anti-American noise. People were going to make and I'm sure there was and as I predicted, certain networks, certain media outlets didn't even bother hardly to recognize it. Yay, of course. But I did see a lot of celebration. It was awesome. I think it should have been handled the right way. I heard all the local fireworks displays were great. And 250 years, man. Are we perfect? Hell no. Do we have a lot of dissension? Are we split right down the middle? Of course, by design. But are we still the greatest nation? You better believe it. Because you still have freedom in this country, whereas you don't have that in a lot of other places. But good to hear from you, our Brazilian friend checking in this morning. So, yeah, their big wedding this weekend, it made its way. Oh, boy. It made its way around the X this weekend. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Team USA tonight. I think that's 8 o'clock. I'll try to stay up and tune into that. So we'll see how that goes. But I want to make sure I've never heard the name said, so I don't want to screw this up. But the gentleman who's now allowed to play is the striker, Valerian Balogun. So there you go. But anyway, FIFA reinstated Balogun. So we'll see if there's an appeal. Belgium saying they didn't have enough time to prepare, that the decision came way too late. So, Rick, I've been trying to keep up with the World Cup. What the hell's going on? Thanks, Max. On the professional door text line. How come now teams can lose and they're out, whereas early rounds they did not? Well, let me find it here. I wondered the same thing. So what you had was the first round was with like regular season football. You had 12 groups of 4 divisions, if you will. Each team plays with the other team in their groups. In other words, a win equals 3 points. And I don't have this as common knowledge. I just copied and pasted here. A draw equals 1 point. The top 2 teams from each team advance with 8 wild card winners to the round of 32, which is single elimination. Then it goes down to 16 in the next round, and this is where we are. And then you have the quarters, just like the Final Four, Sweet 16 in college basketball. What's up, T-Bird? It was so different at 200 years in 1976. Our bicentennial was celebrated the whole year long. Yeah, absolutely. NFL teams like the Cowboys put the red, white, and blue stripes down the middle. Now people try to make you feel like you were anti-everything because you want to celebrate your country. Those of us true Americans are proud in spite of the bumps and bruises. The crazy thing, if the people raising hell and trashing our country can only get away with their craziness here. Correct. They never want to recognize that irony. So anyway, that's how it breaks down. This is why you saw it and why you're wondering now why that's single elimination. So quarterfinals has 8 teams, semi with 4. Then the finals were the winners from the semifinal to determine first and second, losers playing third and fourth, just like, we understand. So there. So, no, don't worry about the question. No, you're fine. He goes, I'm sorry for the silly question. No, it's not a silly question. You're good. What's up, Shadow Gamer? Good morning. Please subscribe. No, that's fine, man. I don't walk around with this supreme knowledge of everything going on with FIFA and soccer. There are no stupid questions. You're fine. As a matter of fact, that's why I pinned it. Or I didn't pin it, but that's why I liked it and saved it, because I figured, you know what? This question might come up, and I might need to revisit it here as I watch Team USA. Thank you, Dad. I appreciate that. Welcome. Yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine. Absolutely fine. I'm sure people across the world, sometimes when they're watching American football, don't really understand the rules. Hell, we don't understand the rules now today because of the officiating inconsistencies. What's pass interference again? What is that? What's a pick? Why wasn't it called down there? Oh, that's right. That's right. Oh, I got it. All right. So here we go. And again, look how timely we are here on the program. So we just talked about this, about all the problems with baseball. And Jorge Posada's comments from a couple weeks ago went viral. What's up, Valerie? You're the best. Thank you for stopping by. Please subscribe. And happy Monday from the States, if you are not here in this country. So yesterday, Yuri Perez pitcher for the Marlins, I got to talk to Marva about this. Yuri Perez, after he had 7 perfect innings, 21 guys up, 21 guys down. He had thrown 92 pitches. And he then got pulled because, 92 pitches was just too much. Keep in mind, he's got a perfect game. And the fans, oh my goodness, booed. And the A's were at home. And this was the home crowd booing because they were getting beat 8-0. They wanted to see a chance at a perfect game. And the first guy of the bullpen walks the first batter that he sees to end the perfect game. But this is what's destroying baseball. 92 pitches, and we're in July. Your arms should be pretty built up by then. Some people, the newbies, the younger generation, trying to say, oh, my goodness. So this guy's six outs away from a perfect game. There's only been 24 perfect games in the history of baseball. It's been played 146 years, counting this year. And he gets pulled because he threw 92 pitches. Oh, no. Doesn't have a history of arm trouble. At least that's what some of the people were saying. Yes, we're faulty human beings, but the framework of our country was built on is still the best. Absolutely, T-Bird. Abso-damn-lutely. It's funny, Belgium complaining the call was so atrocious anyway. A red card on inadvertently or bang stepping on an ankle. We need Elmo officiating these games. Well, Elmo will be here at 7. So if you're a Marlins fan or if you're just a baseball fan, yeah, and that's the thing too, Prometheus, they show the guy. And he's just so submissive. Oh, here you go. And the thing about it, he'd gotten stronger. He was striking people out. And this is what's wrong with baseball. It's broken, man. Major League Baseball is broken. And it's working its way down to every element. How do you send him back out there to start the next inning? They said, 90 pitch. The man, they tried to defend it. Well, he's on a 90 pitch. He'd already gone 2 over. Yeah. Nolan, how about taking Bob Gibson out of a perfect game in the 7th? He threw complete games over 150 pitches, many of them. And I go back to this argument, and no one has ever answered it. Nobody can answer. I've asked our trainers. I've asked our team doctor. I've asked baseball people. In the 60s, when Bob Gibson, I have to look up the record. He had 10 or 14, a series of starts where he had 10 or 14 complete games. And on the average, he threw over 140 pitches, never missed a start, never complained about his arm, never had any issues with any aspect. So this is, oh, Lord, it's math, 32 and 26. This is almost 60 years ago. Now we have all these advancements, all these new mechanisms, all these training medicines, drugs, everything you can take. Yet here's a guy pitching a perfect game in the 7th. He's thrown 92 pitches, and we're going to pull him out. And that's just acceptable. So how was the human body better equipped in 1968 with Bob Gibson to go through 140, 150 pitches, whereas now a kid has 92, he's got a perfect game. There's only been 24 of them yet. Everybody's like, yeah, they better take him out. What's happened? Can anyone answer that question? Because I don't know the answer, but I think it's a valid question. Thanks for all the new subs. Thanks, Valerie, I'm sorry. Yes, we are, Xanos, United States of America. Southeastern part of the country here in Virginia. Welcome. But somebody explain that to me, because I don't have an explanation for it. But I just saw that and I was just like, this is why I can't even watch the games anymore. Of course, you don't get to watch them because they don't really have a national contract. From time to time, one of the Fox affiliates, FS1, FX1, sometimes they'll show a game or two. ESPN might show a game every now and then because they all got tied up, blew that whole regional aspect of everything. It's a lot like the NFL. The people running baseball, every decision they make is worse than the one they just made. And that's usually how it goes with overpaid people who only care about their bottom line, that don't care about the sport that they're governing or the universities that they're governing or athletic departments. It's the same thing. Either people are too afraid to make decisions or to say, hey, the game means more. The aspects of the game mean a lot more than just trying to be, I don't know, popular, whatever it might be. All right. What's up, Geese? I pay no attention to Stephen A. Smith. What did he say about the Lakers? Enlighten me. Good to have. Hey, Geese, you've been here before. Good to see you, man. There would have been a fist fight had you tried to pull those guys out. And Bob Gibson would have slugged the manager. How can you just give the ball up? Oh, okay. Here you go. How do you feel? Oh, I feel great. Well, you're at 92. Oh, well, you told me 90, so here's the ball. Yeah, Geese, what did he say? He said that did he really? He said there are too many white guys on the team with three or more. You can't win with three more. Did he really? Well, it doesn't surprise me. But remember, those kind of comments are okay. You imagine if that were reversed? See right there, it's the epitome of it, Geese. That's why I don't pay any attention to him or that asinine network. The only time I ever stop on that is if there's a game on and I mute the channel 95% of the time. With text playing on one of their networks, I will watch it muted, and I'll turn on Roth and Burnham. Correct. And they're right if Cowherd had said that and reversed it. Absolutely. Absolutely. He would have been fired. What's up? Oh, I'm not going to say that right. I'm just going to say rag him off. Good to see you. Even Max Scherzer would have fallen. Yeah, you're right. You don't have to go back too far. Yeah. Yeah, Max Scherzer would have just started a brawl right there. Dwight Gooden was famous about, don't come out here and tell me how I'm feeling. He used to say, I know when I need to come out. I'm good. I'm good. Rick Sutcliffe. Yeah, it's ridiculous, Geese. Thanks for sharing. I'm not surprised, and nothing will happen to him. It fits the ESPN narrative. It fits the double standard. That's just so okay. Yeah. Everything that they are at ESPN and Disney is wrong with what sports coverage is. They say they're the worldwide leader. That's true in now this sense. Everything ESPN now stands for, it's the worldwide leader in how not to be covering sports. Most of the on-air talent's not very good. And of course, they're more completely and utterly dedicated to their politics with the people they hire because of Disney than they are any other aspect of it. Yeah, exactly, Geese. I think a lot of people are. Hey, what's up, Roblox? Good to see you. Welcome back. Glad you're a fan. Hope you're subscribed. My son was playing Roblox yesterday. I don't understand it, so don't ask, but that's cool. I'm glad It's been very popular. I know that. Yeah, absolutely. Hideous. 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 Well, that's what happens, Wayne, when you start letting your entire influence be guided by politics. This is how many times have I said it, how much I cannot stand it. Either side, either implementation of that mindset politically to come in, and that's all you're dedicated to. Their agenda is all they care about. They don't care about quality of anything. Prometheus says athletes are missing that competitiveness the players of old had, even with golf and Tiger, NASCAR. That's a great point, Prometheus. Remember the sports reporters, Wayne? Remember that? How great was that? Yeah, it's supposed to be an escape. I don't want to be reminded of all the crap going on in the world we get weighted down with by watching sports. Just shut up. And these horrible shows, these horrible takes by uneducated people that don't know anything about what they're talking about. But if they're loud and they're screaming and they bring up, a controversial topic, boy, they've done their job. But what Prometheus says makes a lot of sense. And maybe we have hit, I won't say we, I'm going to give Prometheus all the credit. I think maybe he has hit why golf and NASCAR are just existing. Now, look, golf's always going to be driven and fine because, for the most part, the elite, people who can easily afford it, are playing it, watching it, products. That's what those products are geared for, a certain demographic of people. But the quality of play, I don't know enough about golf to be able to tell you if it's better or worse. But I can tell you this, the fan interest, the general fan interest is not there anymore. And we miss seeing Tiger Woods get fired up after a shot, get pissed off at himself, openly try to intimidate, which he would do, the other players, and almost bring, and we used to talk about this a lot on the old radio show, he would bring a football mentality to the golf course. And I think that's one of the reasons why he captivated so many people. He brought that to him. He really did. Or brought that to the sport. And Dale Earnhardt did the exact same with NASCAR. And now, of course, we have stages. Because we don't want to – you get out of your car, sweetheart. You stretch your legs. What are we doing? Yeah, I think there's a lot to that, T-Bird. Same thing with Hollywood. These aren't folks. These are intentional things. We're seeing that with Supergirl. We're seeing that with everything. The agenda, the political narrative, that's the goal. So you're correct. You're correct. They don't mind losing money as long as the agenda is getting pushed. Wayne says, now it is extreme just about takes. Reporters want to be the show instead of allowing the sport. Well, the reporters want the narrative to be the show. They know what they can say and everybody's going to be okay. Stuart Scott knows he's going to be okay with what Geese just reported, that he said over the weekend. He says he is getting a little bit of heat, which is good. It's a racist comment. Let's just say it the way it is. It's a racist comment. When you're openly saying, hey, they can't win, they have too many white people, it's the exact same if you're saying that as a white person against something derogatory against another race. But you see, that type of racism is okay, according to the Access Media and the people that he works for. They won't care. The day Earnhardt died is also the day NASCAR died. Correct. 100% Geese. It has not recovered. They tried so hard to push it on Junior obviously for reasons that made perfect sense. He wasn't that guy. He wasn't even that great of a driver. Jeff Gordon said the will to compete left him when Dale Sr. died. And see, he was gone shortly thereafter. And those two sports flounder. Hell, we talked about it. The U.S. Open, and I'm not a great example because I don't follow golf, but it was in the second round, and I saw the leaderboard, and I went, oh, is that the U.S. Open? Huh. And it'll probably be the same with the British Open. And I remember when Tiger was being Tiger, man, I couldn't wait for major weekends. I mean, I was there. I remember on Thursdays being at work when Tiger had a shot to win and I had like the scoreboard on and the highlights on the computer in the background just whenever I knew he teed off. Because he was the thing, man. There's not been anybody since. Now, look, let me clarify this by saying, too, Jack Nicklaus is the greatest golfer of all time. Tiger Woods had the best 5 to 7 year stretch of any golfer, but career, Jack Nicklaus had the best career. But it was a little different. The Allisons, yeah, Cale Yarborough, David Pearson, Petty, Walter Bernhardt. Everyone knew there was going to be all outrageous. Yeah, exactly. You knew those guys hated each other. Well, they didn't hate each other, but you knew those guys were going to compete, right? You knew those guys were going to be compete 100% against one another. But yeah. And now not everybody, but everybody's nice. Prometheus says if a white talking head said you can't win with black head coach or black quarterback, he would be getting your. Oh yeah. He would have been fired within the hour, and he'd be ridiculed, and everybody would be saying they should take further action. Facts. I don't know why it's okay. I don't understand. People on the text like, why is that the stand? I don't know. That's just what's accepted. But it's all okay, right? The media will tell you it's okay. Nothing will happen to Stuart Scott. People are not Stuart Scott. Lord, I wish Stuart Scott were here with us. I saw Wayne's message about Stuart Scott earlier. Guy, you missed that era. Bob Lee, Stuart Scott. Hey, I wear it like a badge of honor. When we had a 3/4 court shot by Whit Holcomb Fay against High Point, you can find it on YouTube. Christian, what is it? No, show me. Tell me what you got there with. You know what? Somebody referenced that, Christian. Feinbaum, didn't he rip Franklin? Give me a synopsis. I remember somebody else sent me a couple of comments about that, but I never found it. I got caught up in the 4th of July stuff and I never found it. But Stuart Scott, my voice was really high, and he impersonated. Oh, it was great when he did the out cue. We'll be back after this. That was the guy who did it for all the right reasons. God, I wish we had Stuart Scott back in place of Stephen A. Smith. Was that you, Wayne? Did you send me that? Okay. Did I not read that? I don't guess I read it. If I did read it, and the scary part is, Wayne, I don't remember it. Yeah, Feinbaum was one of those guys that because of political pressure, he was going to run. I think he was going to run as a Republican in was it a House? And he resigned from it because ESPN said, if you do, we're going to fire you, basically. Now, if he'd have run on the other side of it, he'd have been just fine. But no, you can't have a different opinion. You can't do that. No. But it was a negative comment. Wasn't it, Wayne? Let me know. I'm trying to find it, Wayne. And my apologies. Thanks, everybody, for all the new subs. Yeah, I think that's not a secret amongst coaches. I think the consensus around college coaches is that James Franklin is not known as a ball coach. He's known as a guy that's doing what he's doing at Tech. He's a program CEO, which is what Tech needed. Now he hopes that he has people around him that's going to, be good ball coaches, but that's pretty much his reputation. He said, okay, here's Christian saying that he says, you've got to remember the media is not overly analytical when it comes to people they like. Franklin got out. Nobody remembered he was fired by the end of the year, and he's doing game day. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Wayne. My apologies, man. A lot going on, man. It's tough. That's true. He showed up on game day because he fit everything that ESPN likes, right? Spurned by the Big Ten, and that's their rival league. So he was on the next weekend, right? Sitting there, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's right. So he's doing game day, sucking up to everybody. He's got an easier job. It's a better fit for him. He followed a bunch of losers at Virginia Tech, so it shouldn't be very difficult. That's true. He does have that advantage. That's the one thing he's right about. I mean, you're following Fuente, and you're following Brent Pry. Yeah, that's probably what happened, Wayne. That's probably what happened. Slamming Sammy Sneed says, keep close count of your nickels and dimes. Stay away from whiskey and never concede a putt. Look, Tiger Woods was an international rock star, man. You know it. You lived through it. Most of you did. I hate what's happened. I hate he's destroyed his life, infidelity. And now, obviously I think he's got a drug addiction problem with the meds he's on. His body has broken down because he's aided in that with the accidents and everything else. It's sad to see, to be honest with you. It makes me sad to see this latest thing where he flipped his car. He's brought this on himself. It is. He has. He needs help. He needs help. I don't know whether he's getting it. I don't know. But that era won't be replicated. There's nobody out there today that's doing that. Scotty Scheffler is pretty much thought of as being the best American golfer. I think he's a good dude. And, when I see that he's got a chance to win a tournament, I'm going to watch the last couple of holes. I want him to win, but it's not the same if he doesn't. If he hits one into the water or he three putts at the end, I'm going, oh, that's a shame. Click. Yeah, he just doesn't have that draw. There's nobody on NASCAR. I mean, we just lost Kyle Busch, God rest his soul. He was a guy that he was old school vibe and feel. He didn't like all the stages and the way it had regressed. Do they do stages? Somebody who knows more than me, do they do stages in the F1 series? No, sir. I said series and Siri cut on. Look, Siri lit up. Do they have stages in F1 racing, open wheel racing? Or is that just NASCAR? Anyone know? Anyone? Chat? Newbies? Text line? I mean, I could look it up, but Tiger was an event, correct. Didn't matter whether you were a golf fan or not. I don't play. But, boy, I was watching. You better believe I was watching. I couldn't wait. When he broke out the red shirt on Sunday Major Day, couldn't wait. Usually he would tee off with the last group. Vern Lundquist on the call. Man, Vern Lundquist better, much better than Jim Nantz, by the way. And I guess Rory McIlroy is the world's, I don't know who's number one. Hell, I don't know. And Rory's got a lot of appeal. He seems like a good dude. I know he's thought of in his home country as being one of the top sports stars of all time. He rightfully so. He should have that mantle, but is he bringing the world with him like Tiger Woods did? No, he's not. Is NASCAR being able to get out of its southern roots as easily as it used to be accepted by the West Coast, by the northern Midwest since Dale Earnhardt was killed? No. They've kind of settled back in to regionality. It gets no play. It's so, and I don't want to use ESPN as an example of something that's legitimate, but if you look, I'll look right now. If you go to their scoreboard, that's all really I have bookmarked. If you go through their scoreboard, their front page where they put everything that happened the previous day, they have baseball and the World Cup, of course. They have Wimbledon. That's still a thing. The men and women's results. They have the World Cup I mentioned. They have golf. By the way, congratulations to something called C. Gotterup. He won the John Deere Classic. Must be a tough course, 20 under par. And they have WNBA and whatever the hell the NWSL is. In other words, NASCAR has fallen so far, it doesn't even make the results of the weekend racing ever. They don't even carry it anymore. They didn't even try to bid on the last contract. That's how far it's fallen since Dale Sr. was killed. And they've done themselves no favors with horrible decisions. They forgot who their core fan base was. They tried to bring a demographic into it, much like we see with Hollywood, who's trying to force their political ideology group. For the most part, it's younger people, Generation Zers. It's a certain type of group of individual and mind think. And they put that in all their mainstream movies now because the message is what is more important than anything else. They don't think about the quality of the product. They're not worried about entertaining, as was mentioned earlier by Geese, right? We want to escape. We want to be entertained. That doesn't matter anymore. It's why you're seeing Supergirl record flop. DC and the new DC universe is destroyed. It's over. James Gunn will be fired soon, probably after Man of Tomorrow. We might get into all this on Big Dog Pop. I do want to do that on Big Dog Pop. It's segued into a sports. But we need to look at this stuff and see how movies and media is being used and the mind think in Hollywood. Have you read the things going on with the Odyssey? Christopher Nolan, maybe the most popular director in Hollywood, and what he's done with the race swapping. He just put out another trailer, and a Christopher Nolan trailer has gotten over 500,000 dislikes. People aren't going for this crap anymore. It's not working. Supergirl's going to lose over $200 million. It just worldwide, in its second weekend, had a 74% drop. It just barely crossed over $100 million total. Keep in mind, the studios keep half of the box office. They keep less than half worldwide. This movie, they say, cost about $190 million. It was the budget. Then you have another $100 million in marketing. So they've almost got $300 million into that movie. And just to break even, you got to make about $500 million. Well, they're barely going to cross. They're not going to make 150. People are rejecting this slop. They don't want it anymore. Hollywood's not going to change. They're going to keep doing it. It doesn't matter. Why they do it, I don't know. Because the group they're doing it for expects it, and you're not appealing to anybody. Wayne says, Nicholas strived and pushed to always be the best, while Tiger had the most talent, believed he was the best, but unfortunately his ego overcame the effort. Yeah, it did. It did. I think I look at Tiger a lot like I do Michael Jackson. You're one of the biggest things in the history of the world in sports. I mean, he was an international rock star. I'm not making excuses for him. You still got to be a responsible human being, maybe even more so when you're in that position. And he let it all get away from him. He was his own worst enemy. He would have broken Nicklaus's record if he'd just stayed the same type of motivated guy. And why did he ever get married? That was the question that many of his best friends on the tour have asked, knowing he had the issues he had, was allegedly sexual addiction, right? Why would you get married? And that was the end for all, because he obviously wasn't going to be able to be faithful in that marriage. Yeah, a lot of YouTubers, two of the best movies this summer, and I saw Obsession, and it's terrific, made without an agenda, without a big budget, and they're running circles around Hollywood and scaring the hell out of Hollywood. These are people that aren't professional movie makers, because they're telling a story without any agenda. Wow, imagine that concept. Just watched Rear Window with Janet, and the storytelling of that movie is it's mind-blowing. Alfred Hitchcock. So here's the problem. Here's more. So I like to consider myself pretty up to snuff on what's going on in sports. Chris Gotterup is widely regarded as the most emotional and fired up PGA Tour golfer right now, known for his fiery passion and expressive play. He famously gets emotional. I didn't know his name till I just read it off of the scoreboard. Who's marketing him? Yeah, Rear Window. Great movie, Christian. Jimmy Stewart was wonderful in that movie. It was shot entirely from his apartment. Grace Kelly was his love interest. Woo! And it is 8,000 times better than anything today that's capable of being produced out of god-awful Hollywood. But, any event, we're able to produce this gentleman, and he is 8,000 times better than anything else going on in coaching. His name is Phil Elmassian. What's up, Coach Elma?
Good morning, Rick.
How are you?
Doing well. I'll tell you what, I used to watch that Wide World of Sports. I feel like I'm going back in time.
I loved it.
You are covering the Wide World of Sports today.
I don't have Jim McKay's delivery.
I'm telling you, it's like I feel like I'm back with McKay and all those guys in the old Wide World of Sports. You covered it all today. I can't keep up. I stopped taking notes.
I loved Wild World of Sports, man. You always got exposed to something you didn't really know about. And I was always very curious, how other nations looked at their sports and how they transferred over here, skiing, whatever it was, rugby, whatever. You're like, wow, this is cool,
Well, how about that poor skier on the jumping when he crashed, fell off and crashed into the snow and tumbled elbows and buttholes, and he's got to watch that every week.
The agony of defeat. He's the epitome of the agony of defeat. Yeah.
That poor guy.
Yeah. Terrible. Just terrible. But, here we are, Coach. We're in July. Take us back now. I know it's changed a lot, but I've wanted to ask you, as we get into July, we know a lot of coaches are taking vacation. Was this always deemed the vacation month when you were coaching? Was July looked at the same way?
Depends. Some people were June, some people were July, for the most part. But July, yeah. Usually, I only took a week. But some people, 2. You had 3 weeks. One of the weeks, you had to be around town to be in the office. You had what's called office duty for anything coming up with players and strength coach while they were there, conditioning, and some of them taking classes, things of that nature. From what I've heard, with all the coaches, apparently they said the month of June is a nightmare because of all the balls that have to be juggled. Because now you can literally have, OTAs kind of going out and working with your players. You can work with your players in a certain amount of time. Then you have your camps, which turned into one-day camps. Then you'll have your 7-on-7s. Some people still have team camps, which were a lot of fun. I love the team, especially the padded team camps. They were great. And we used to have them at Illinois State. Our D-line coach, Spence Nowinski, who was at New Mexico now, D-coordinator in Mexico, when we had to turn teams away in the state of Illinois. It was a full padded camp. It was a padded camp, not full, but the uppers padded helmets. And it was run like a college practice, and they loved it, especially where states that didn't have spring football. But now the month of June is really, it's so exhausting. You'd almost have to take your 3 weeks of vacation to rejuvenate, because June is just, there's too many balls to juggle. You got your own kids you're working with, you got camps, and you got, then you got official visits. I think it's June or May, whatever, whether official or unofficial, but you got kids on your campus coming.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a lot. That's hey, they're getting paid a lot of money, and so they're earning their money. Trust me, we didn't get paid a lot, but we didn't have. When I was coaching, what I loved, it was like the seasons. There were 4 seasons of football. Recruiting was recruiting. The fall was the fall. The spring was the spring. In terms of your priorities, you had priorities. And when it was spring ball, it was spring ball. Recruiting was not even you were watching films and things of that nature, but it's all changed. It all changed in the 2000s, and as the information you were able to receive because of the computer age, back when I got into it, we had 16 millimeter film. It was hard to get the film because high school coaches too expensive to make copies. They had 1 copy, so you had to go to the high school. I used to get down to Hampton. I'd start in Hampton High School in the spring and sit there. I'd go to, for my first week of recruiting, the first day I'd go to Hampton and watch every game that they played against, so I'd get the Peninsula District looked at, and I did it at Hampton. Then I'd go over to Virginia Beach and I'd go to Green Run. And then I'd go to Chesapeake. I'd go to Great Bridge, because these are the coaches that I knew extremely well enough that I could sit all day and just really get the rosters, not knowing who I'm looking at. And I'd turn to Mike. Hey, Mike, how about this kid over at, Bethel or over at Kickingham? What'd you think of him? And so then that's how I started my recruiting back in the day, and it was fun. Just had no list. You created your list off the film, just watching it. Had no idea who you're looking at, but you wanted to find out who's jumping out at you, and that was really cool. I mean, that was I love that. All of a sudden, you look, you go, "Holy, who's it? This kid at York High School? Who's this kid? Reggie Evans. Okay, is he good back? Yeah. Who's recruiting him? Nobody. Oh, all right. I'm going up." So things of that nature. But
nobody. Did you have when you were, because today we see all these recruiting classes and they're paying these guys, so there might be even more pressure to make sure they develop. But when you would have your class of 20, 30 guys, Coach, back in the day, did y'all get together as a staff and say, if we can come out of here with X amount of players end up contributing, we've done our job. Like kind of like when you invite drafted invitees to your training camp to see if you can find a player or two. You have to try. I mean, what was a good percentage of guys you would recruit one year that could contribute a couple of years down the road?
Well, first of all, as I've mentioned on the show before, Rick, and I still think it could apply today. You have to shut the noise out. You cannot get involved in your rankings. You cannot. All it comes down to is, did you get who you wanted? These are the kids you wanted, and this is your recruits were able to fulfill their needs, your needs in terms of, what were whether it was offensive line or the quarterback or the DB, and then. I always myself personally, I can't speak for other coaches. I had no problems starting a freshman. I've always told the players, I'll never give a position away that's been earned. You come off spring practice, you've earned your position through your productivity and character and all the other boxes you check. I'm not giving it away. It's yours. Yours to keep. But I'm going to bring in somebody that's going to try to take that position away from you, because the competition is my best coaching aid. And, I'm never worried about depth. I'm worried about competition in position, because it is your best coaching aid you have. There's no better than having competition in the position. And so, I'd go to Cornell Brown or a Larry Grant. I'd identify some kids and say, okay, and I'd put them in the 2 deep right away. If the position has, let's say you're in 2 deep at corner, which means you got 4 corners. So you got to rank them. Who's the best corner? Who's the next best? Third? Who's the fourth? Okay. Well, if you may have top 2 corners, but your third corner, no one's earned it. No one's come off the spring and earned it. So I'm going to give it away to a freshman. So I'm going to ID a freshman. Hopefully, if we've done a good enough job in recruiting, I can ID a freshman and say, like we did with Cornell, you're going to number 2. You're the third D end. You'll be the third. You're on the bus. You're on the bus. Now show us you can handle this. And you either can beat somebody out in front of you if you're better, and I didn't care if you were a walk-on, And so if you do your due diligence. Now it's my junior college background, because we had such roster turnover coaching 4 years with junior college.
Yeah, it's true.
You're losing, you're losing a lot of sophomores, and almost over 50% of your playing roster are going to be freshmen that you've never seen. Some you've never seen.
Yeah,
it is. They just show up, come out for football. We'd have 150 kids come out, Rick, with 4 coaches. 4 coaches and 150 kids. And we got to find football. And don't forget, this is a program we're playing for the national championship every year. We're not trying to win some games. Right. When you talk about pressure, Coach Norton was one of the first coaches in the state that brought national recognition on the collegiate level to the state of Virginia when he won the national championship in '65.
That's right. Yeah.
No one had ever brought national recognition to the state. Nobody on that scale. And he was the one, he consistently won, winning his junior college in the history of junior college football at one point in time. But no, it's, recruiting is, if you've done a good job, identify your kids, and, hopefully you have freshmen. Now it's the portal. It's easier today with the portal. Now it's easy. The portal and the money make it easier, but the portal and the money make it harder, because, you got what value, like Todd's always said, what value are you putting on the player? And most importantly, what value are you going to put on the position?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always said, as a group, my highest paid people will be the offensive linemen. If you total up that salary structure, my whole linemen are going to be the highest paid of the group. Because you
and that makes sense.
You can't make those mistakes. You can't have an offensive lineman, because usually as they say, Rick, as you know, the last stop was the bus stop for offensive line. Because those guys, nobody else, they are true mutts. Nobody wants them.
That's
once
right.
they're in that position, where are they going? They're usually former defensive linemen or former tight ends or whatever that, are made offensive line coaches. That's why you usually see cohesiveness among offensive linemen. They're the most cohesive on the team because they got no place else to go. The D-line coach is not screaming to get an offensive lineman to come help him.
You're right, yeah.
So that's an area.
Well, Todd's referenced that. Todd has talked about, he was an offensive. Yeah. Well, Todd mentioned that, Coach, and I think you did as well. I mean, he was an offensive lineman, and he understood. He got to see the other side of it. It's kind of helped him become now, so successful as a defensive coordinator, right, at every level. It's kind of like he saw it from the other side, right? It makes a lot of sense.
I really believe, listen, I've been around two of the best D-line coaches. I think that's, I'll put a top 10 or a top 5, whatever number on, for me personally, a guy named John Palermo, who we coached at Minnesota together. Then he went with Lou at Notre Dame. And then our D-line coach went with Barry, Wisconsin. And he was Barry's right-hand man at Wisconsin. And, we had walk-ons in the D-linemen that we're going to win the Big Ten championships with. He was, and Todd, same thing as, Bernard Basham, J.C. Price, Waverly Jackson, Jeff Holland, all these guys. Let me tell you, for those guys, Virginia Tech was about the only team they could be playing for. We won. That's not like we beat Miami or Florida State or Michigan or Ohio State for these kids. And, so you when you look at coaching, when you can, like I said, when you can get the 4th middle round guys and all of a sudden after a year or two, particularly after the first year, they become 1st or 2nd round money guys, their productivity, that's great coaching. If you're coaching in the NFL, you will have a job forever in that league because the owners, they'd rather, it's all about value and money. If I can spend 3rd round money on a kid and I can get to the playoffs, I'm going to have a job. I'm going to have a job in the NFL forever because I'm saving the owners money.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And then now, like Lou Anarumo, the D coordinator for the Bengals. Okay, as an example, here's Jesse Bates coming out of Wake Forest, the safety for the Falcons now. I forget what round he was in, but he was not a 1st rounder. I don't even think he was a 2nd round money. All of a sudden, they go to the Super Bowl. His rookie contract is up after 3 years, and all of a sudden, he commands 1st round money for free agency after his 3rd year, and the Bengals wouldn't re-sign him. They wouldn't do it. So he goes to the Falcons, and that's what happened to Lou. I told Lou, "You're too good. You're taking middle round guys, but when their rookie years are over with, or whether they're free agents and their contract is up, now the Bengals, they won't pay him. They'll let him go.
Yeah.
And guess what? They'll let you go." So, I said, so him getting fired with the Bengals, the best thing I told him, that's the best thing ever happened to you. Because you'll get a job. The owners, even when he was the DB coach at Miami, his reputation preceded itself because he took guys. There was only one guy in the secondary when he was coach of secondary in Miami that was a 1st or 2nd round draft choice. The rest of them were middle round guys. And next thing you know, one of the best secondaries in the NFL. And that's your reputation that you get, from that perspective. So that that's what you're looking for in the coaches. To me, the best coaches today are the guys that can take those middle round guys, in college particularly. I may have a $60 million for a roster or $40 million for a roster, but if I can spend $30 million and still win the conference championship, I'm doing pretty good. My value increases as a coach.
Were you ever enticed by the NFL? Did you ever have a thought, maybe I want to? Did you ever?
No. I wish I would have. I wish I did it. I wish I had that experience. I got a chance to go with the Dolphins for a week, spent a week with the Dolphins when I retired, and they were going to hire me as like an analyst type guy. I went down for a week. I'm not going to go into but there were a bunch of people on the staff, defensive staff at Miami, wanted me to come down, meet the GM, the owners, higher ups. So, because they wanted me to be a part of the staff as an evaluator, breaking films down, watching free agents, things of that nature. They did that for a week, and then they fired the head coach about the third week of the year. So I never, that turmoil with the Dolphins. I think it was 2016. It's a mess. But no, I got a call from George Seifert. I did when I took the LSU job. I got a call from George Seifert. He called me personally because the biggest thing is one of the things I was really proud of. I'll divert a little bit. That the NFL, they give the kids questionnaires and they ask who's the best coach on the college staff. Who's your best coach on your like at Nebraska or whatever?
Yeah.
And there have been numerous players that put my name down. Daniel Bullocks, who was a 39th player taken in the draft of safety. One of the coaches for the Detroit Lions sent me a copy of it. He said, Phil, I thought you'd want to know this. I thought this was really kind
That's awesome.
That Daniel Bullock said, put my name down. So all of a sudden, I'm coaching Jamar Fletcher, who was a Thorpe Award winner and a first-round draft choice. And Lovie Smith at the Rams, his evaluation of him was the best technique corner in college football. That was from Lovie Smith. I had a buddy of mine on the staff at the Rams at the time, St. Louis Rams. So all of a sudden, when your kid's a first rounder that you're coaching and that film's going around and they're going, this kid's well coached in terms of complete player tackling, making plays, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. So I get a call from George Seifert and wanted me to interview. I don't know if he's going to offer me the job, but he wanted me to interview. And I said, and I was at LSU. I just took the LSU job. I said, Coach, I'm flattered and I appreciate it, but couldn't do it. So that's as close as I came. And if I was probably even in my second or third year at LSU, I probably wouldn't have done it. I really, back in the day, college football, good, pro football, bad.
Yeah, I got
now,
exactly. Yeah,
now,
right.
Now, pro football's good, college football bad.
Bad.
So if it was you turn that clock back 25 years ago,
you're right.
I'd have done everything I could to get in the NFL with today's circumstances. Make no mistake about it. My buddy always told me they want to get coached. I did interview with the Texans when they first had the franchise. I interviewed with Capers. Capers asked all the scouts when they just started the franchise. Don Capers asked all his scouts, I want a list of the best college coaches in America. Give me who do you have? Your teams that you scout, who's the best coach that you have? And this one gentleman recommended me for him to talk to. So I was down in Mobile at the East-West game, and I did talk to him. A kid that I coached that was gotten into scouting, and he was on the staff, and I said, hey, and I sent him all my NFL guys. I said, if you want my resume was, hey, here's the list of the NFL guys I've coached, Lawyer Malloy, Jeff Loggeman, all these first, second rounders. I said, call them. They'll call those guys that are in the league. You want to know about me? Some of those guys, there'll be positives, there'll be some negatives, but call them. I sent them a list of those kids that are playing in the NFL. And the word got back to him. He said, I was too tough on the players, so I never got that.
Really?
It's the best compliment I ever had.
Yeah. Hey, you got a question for you, Coach, about fullbacks here. Some coaches in the NFL, and I've gone back to it. Heck, Sean Payton runs the fullback in Denver. You think it's going to we see that come back in college football at all? Like,
no, I think what you're going to I doubt it, because you don't want to not waste the scholarship, but that's tight ends. I always differentiated when the tight end was on the line of scrimmage. He had the Y, the old ZXY. You lettered your positions. The Z was the flanker, the X was the split end, the Y was the tight end. Then you had the F as the fullback, the T as the tailback. Well, as soon as that tight end stepped off the line, he became an F for me. He was a fullback. The 80 number went to a 40 number because they utilized him. So now that's why instead of giving a scholarship to a fullback, okay, let's go get the extra tight end. Instead of signing a fullback or two fullbacks, let's sign 4 or 5 tight ends. And then now there was a tight end called the move guy. Usually when there was 2 tight ends on the field, there was the first Y and the second Y. And the second Y was usually the guy who's going to step off, be a move guy, and turn into a fullback. So as far as the value of a scholarship in the college game, I don't think that's going to change. But I do think now, like Franklin, one of those tight ends are going to be an inline guy, and one of those guys is going to be a move guy. I don't know which one of those tight ends will be the move guy, but the more athletic of the two will be the move guy. He is the fullback. You got to block, catch, run routes, protect, pass protect, do all those things. He's the Swiss Army knife, just like the kid playing for the Colts that Franklin had at Penn State.
Yeah.
And think about it. When they lost him, they lost a lot.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
I think Benji Gosnell, if I was him, Benji Gosnell would be my move tight end. He'd be my quote fullback / tight end. I think he's that kind of guy. And I think he could play in the line. Like I told you, if I'm an NFL scout, I am bringing him to my camp. I don't know how he's going to get there. Could be free agent, 7th round. I don't know. But I feel the same way about him as I did Tootin when I first saw him. I was banging Tootin drum way before he took a snap. When I went up there in the spring and saw him, I told Greg Roberts, I said, this kid's special. Because the one thing he could do, Rick, was pass protect.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that lower body, you look at that lower body, that legs, when that linebacker blitzed or he had to pick up a DN, he'd sit that big butt down and unload, and he'd put his face right in the fan and stop it. I mean, the feet stopped moving. He had excellent hands. They never utilized him enough. You could have put him out there through the bubble or swing screens, things of that nature, delays. Use him as a screen guy.
Yeah,
so that was Ron. Ron Dane's demise was he couldn't catch the ball. He was never thrown a football in his whole 4 years. He hadn't thrown the ball. I don't know if he had a reception. But so this kid was the only problem with Tootin was his height. Like, he's like Coach Norton, you say, he ain't small, he's just short.
They returned kicks. You're right, though. They had him. He was the best kick returner they had. But you're right. They didn't do enough with him. Just throw him a little screen.
Did not get him the ball enough. They had 10 design plays and make sure all 10 of those plays were going to be called. 2 to 3 a quarter. He's getting the ball. I don't care. That I know 2 or 3 times in that quarter. I'm not going to be running the read zone with him to a point where if the quarterback keeps the ball, he doesn't have it in his hands. And all of a sudden, because Tootin was one of those kids. Coach Holtz always said, when you look at a running back, if you block it for 3, okay, and he gets you the 3, or the block it for 4 and he gets you the 4, okay, he's got some redeeming qualities. But you block it for 4 and he gets you 10, then a little bit better. Now you block it for 4 and he spits out 20 because big plays occur when there's 2 missed tackles, not 1. That's when the big plays occur. when you see 2 missed tackles in the open space. Well, this kid, you block it for 4, he's getting you 15 to 20, just about all. So I loved him. I love Benji Gosnell. He's one of my favorite Virginia Tech players. He may not get drafted in the Army, but I'm telling you, I'd take him.
Along those lines, Christian asking you, Coach, with all the tight ends, you just mentioned Gosnell, do you expect them to line up in a lot of 12 and 13 personnel?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're going to see a Big Ten offense. You'll see a Michigan-type Penn State offense. And he did it at K-State. He was the OC at K-State. He's a West Coast. He's not a spread guy as Rich Rodriguez, a la Rich Rodriguez, or the guy out of Southern Cal. That's not him. He's gonna run the football and play the game in terms of Nick Saban type attitude towards the game. And now the better the quarterback, the more you can do in the offense. But I've coached against his offenses. The quarterback's not going to be accountable for 80% of the production. It's not. You're going to have tailbacks, you're going to have tight ends involved, you're going to have receivers involved. That's going to take the productivity burden off the quarterback. Just like I said, you've heard me say this numerous times. Sean Moore went to be the 6th in the Heisman. He was 6th in the Heisman. That happened when we got Terry Kirby and had Herman Moore. And had a kid named McGonigal at tight end. We had the trifecta in terms of the positions you need to be a great offense. A running back, a tight end, a big play wide receiver outside of your quarterback.
I love that type of offense too. I love the multiple tight ends. I don't know.
Let me tell you, it's not Todd will tell you. He'll tell you.
Yep, he did.
Let me tell you, when we played against Tom Coughlin in 1993, and he had the 3 tight ends in the game at the same time. Now, when I was at Syracuse, we had beaten them 2 years in a row. We beat the hell out of them 2 years in a row. But they all of a sudden, those sophomores became juniors and seniors, and they got better. They kicked our ass so bad it was ridiculous. Dan Henning tried doing it the next year, but let me tell you, it's a D coordinator's nightmare. It's a nightmare. You better have better checkers, because they're going to create situations that are going to allow your defense. Your nickel defenses are not going to work against the 13, 12 personnels. And the multiplicities, especially if you got 12 personnel, and all of a sudden you go from 12 to an 11 type personnel where you're detaching 3 receivers. You can detach the tight end as the third receiver, or you're in double tight ends, detach both tight ends to create 10. You can create all the different variables with groupings if these kids are athletic enough. And I think the tight ends, I know Benji Gosnell is, I'll put him out as an X receiver. I call those guys first down makers. Get them the ball, and all of a sudden the chains are moving.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Why throw a hitch screen to a 170-pound wideout when you could throw a hitch screen to a 250-pound tight end that the first tackle ain't going to work?
Who can run a little bit. Yeah, right.
The first free hitter is going to get run over. It's positive yards. Let's put it this way. Coach Oates always said, almost as bad as a turnover is the lost yardage play.
No, yeah.
The number one thing you want to look at the lost yardage plays. How many plays are playing behind the line of scrimmage as opposed to in front of the line? So, but that's
yeah. Let's see. Another question for you. I guess it's hard to predict percentage of the quarterback under center as compared to shotgun. Did that bother you? Did that matter?
Well, but
the quarterback was?
No, not really. Matter of fact, you could package. I know back in the day when Purdue with Drew Brees, Cheney, one thing that when I interviewed up there, they got from me was, look, your tendencies were ridiculous. Breeze was so good he could overcome, but they had tendencies when he was under the center. They had this is what they're majoring in. When they was in the shotgun, this is what they're majoring in. And in the infantile days of the spread offense to throw the ball to Dennis Erickson, the old Washington State deal where Joe Tiller was a part of too, that those coaching staffs that came out of Washington State that going Miami and going to Purdue, and it was spread to throw the football, not run it. Now, when the shotgun came in, when it was now a quarterback halfback game, that's when I got out, because now it was 11 versus 11. There was no more extra defensive player, and the spread offense with the read zones and all those things that you were defending two plays. You were either defending a halfback sweep or a quarterback inside zone on the same play because he's on his reads. It's either a quarterback sweep and a halfback inside zone, depending upon which way the zone is going, to the back or away from the back. So basically they split your defense in two, literally split your defense. Half your defense had to defend the quarterback, half your defense had to defend the halfback. And then when they changed the blocking rules that the lineman could go 3 yards down the field, oh, shit. The RPO came into play. I said, nah, I'm out of here. I'm going to do Rick show.
I'm out.
Now I could get fired from Rick show, but I know for sure it was too much. Too much for me.
Do you remember a game, Wayne asked, is there one game that stands out of all your teams, regardless of where you were, that you know what, that may have been the best defensive performance that one of my teams had? You ever remember that? That's a good question.
Well, the 94, when we went up to play BC in 94, Torrey and Greg, we had a touchdown for an interception for a touchdown. I think we won 4 offensively. We couldn't. They had a really good defense. Here's the thing, Rick. To answer that question, when you played Miami, it wasn't about Miami's offense. The challenge for the players that I put on them was we had to outperform their defense, which was Warren Sapp and Ray Lewis, and they had some cats, because their defense is going to make plays, and you got to counter that. So the challenge was you got to when their defense makes the play, you got to come back and make a play. Probably one of the best defensive performances I'd been around, and you can YouTube this game. You could YouTube Virginia Tech Miami 1993. The whole game's on. After the first drive of 26 plays, we proceeded to beat the crap out of them for the next 3 quarters. It ended up in the fourth quarter, we ran out of gas. Offensively, we could not buy a first down, and understandably so. They had the best defense in the conference, the country. That game to me stood out for me in a losing effort. Those kids played their hearts out defensively. We turned the ball over. We sacked that quarterback. We hit that quarterback I don't know how many times and took him to the ground. Held him at 250 yards of total offense. The lowest production they've ever had, what Erickson's ever had. So,
what was the final of that game? You remember the final score off the top
21-2.
2.
We got to stay. I think it was 21 to something, 21-7, 21 something. And that was the year before they won 54 on Virginia Tech. The year before, we go down there and it's a 10-7 game going into the second half. 10 something, I don't know. And then the second year we did the same thing. Except the 94. Except we gave up a touchdown before the half, and that was my fault. I screwed that up. But that was the one game that stands out to me. Rose Bowl against Stanford was a great defensive effort. The games against Purdue, We had 7 interceptions in 2 years off of Drew Brees, 7, and 2 of them for touchdowns.
That's incredible.
So great defensive efforts that the kids would play. So yeah, they're fun games of coaching, but it still comes back down to, when you see great defenses, the great top defenses, you can't have a great defense without an efficient offense. You cannot. You will not. You're not going to have a great defense that your offense is not going to be able to control the ball and run the ball. You're not. You look at Southern Cal. They got as good a talent. They got as good a talent as anybody in the country on defense. But their offense is so inefficient, and it is a spread, and you're on the field a lot because they're 3 and out. They're punting the ball, and so you're that's what happens to some of the defenses. You can have a great defense and still be real poor in terms of your results because your offense is, that's what Coach Saban was. Even though he went to the spread at the end because he knew he had to get more points on the board, but it was still I think Franklin will be the same way too. It's not going to be the offensive coordinator that's, controlling the game. It's the Virginia Tech football team is going to control the game, offense, defense, kicking, as it was under Frank Beamer and all the great coaches, whether it's Nick Saban, Frank Beamer, Barry Alvarez, this team. And that's what separates a lot of teams. Anytime the head coach is the offensive coordinator calling the plays in college football, it's not the NFL. And if they don't have a handle on like Coach Saban as a D coordinator, the D coordinator called the game. It was his game plan. He was in every minute of the day. He was in the meeting. Todd will tell you, he ran the meetings, but he wanted to be the head coach on game day. You call the game. Now I get fired twice and a half, and that's hey, I'm good with that.
So he's already telling you, look, I may not be officially calling the defense, but you're going to do this. This is what we're doing.
Well, I got other things. It was his game. It was his game plan.
It was his thing. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it was his game plan. But you were able to. But he was a big picture guy. He was all about concepts. Wasn't about defending plays or stopping plays. So on first and second downs, he had his. Here's your run defenses. Here's your third down defense. Now, okay. And now he had a third down philosophy. Like if you called cover 2 on first and second down, that's a fireable offense. Okay. You got a chance to you get your ass ripped. And if so in other words, you better outnumber on the run. So, and he had run pressures and pass pressures. He had first, second. So you could sit there and tape. So here's the plan. Now you were able to, okay, I want the information you've had to say, hey, it's 3rd and 3 to 6, and okay, we're gonna play man coverage, and this is the kind of man we're gonna play, whether it's 5-man rush or 4-man rush. That was your decision, not his. Now you had to hear the options, but you were able to pick the options and prioritize the options in that game. And with Nick at that time, when in doubt, blitz. He loved the blitz. He loved pressures. So I just, I scripted a lot of pressures in practice so he'd stay off my ass. Todd will tell you. He'll tell you. He's been there.
Yep.
Ask Todd that question.
Yep. I will, because he's coming on next. I'll ask him, hey, who's the fastest player you ever coached or that you saw that you said, you know what, we got to get that kid right now?
There was a guy named Henry Williams when I was at East Carolina. When I was at East Carolina, matter of fact, when I was at Fair and we played against him, he's from Northwest Mississippi Junior College. We played. That's who we played for the national championship, and he was on the team. We held him down pretty good. Our kids did a good job. Well, I get to East Carolina. He was, as far as when you talk about a punt return or kickoff return, I don't care if it's Florida State, Florida, Miami, this kid was electric. Henry Williams. And his football speed was he could, whatever he ran, he got into it in a hurry, in an awful hurry, And that's, I'm going back to another game, talk about great defense. When I'm at East Carolina, we go down to Miami, and we held them when they won the national championship that year in 83. It was a great defensive effort, man. I'll tell you, I think we lost to them 13-12, 13 to something. And I think they scored a touchdown, one touchdown or 2 field goals, something like that. They won that was Howard Schnellenberger's first national championship team. And to this day, the players from Miami on that team will tell you, because I've heard it from them, that East Carolina was the most physical team they ever played against in their careers in Miami. And that's Nebraska for the national championship included. And Florida State and whatever. You did not want to play us.
That's the best compliment you can have, right? As a defensive coach, especially. Nobody wants to play.
And let me tell you, back in the day, we didn't have 2-a-days, Rick. We had 4-a-days.
Yeah.
We broke every rule. We must have had 100 practices before the first game. We had 4-a-days. No air conditioning down in Greenville. The toughest kid.
Yeah.
Oh, it was unbelievable. And those kids loved it. They practiced hard. Oh man, it was. I don't know. Those kids did it. They did it.
Well, great stuff.
Thing, Rick, one thing I wanted to run by you.
Yeah, of course.
I did a little research talking to some people. I think having Dave Brain on would be really cool. But one thing I noticed is this in the next 4 years. Remember we talked about the contracts, the TV contracts.
Yeah.
Well, I was listening to a couple of podcasts, which I don't, but I thought, okay, this will be interesting because I don't know. Nobody knows. That you think you know, you do not know.
Correct.
You don't. It's all speculation. Until it happens, you don't know. But here's what I do. You think about this. Turn the clock back. When you talk about dominoes and how you push one and the rest of them are falling, let's turn the clock back to when all of a sudden they were going to expand the national championship. Going to go to expansion. Not necessarily the TV contracts were up. Contracts were contracts. But I can't remember the number, but the year they decided to really expand out, it was from 2 to 4 or whatever. All of a sudden, Texas and Oklahoma goes, okay, if we're in the Big 12 and we've lost a game, or for sure 2 games, but a game, they're not going to pick us.
That's right. That's right.
So we're going to the SEC right now. They didn't even wait. It was the next year, right away. They know with a one-loss SEC team, we're in. We're going to be in Texas and Oklahoma. So they made the jump from the Big 12 to the SEC. So those 2 dominoes, all of a sudden, what did it do? The Pac-10 destroyed itself. But all of a sudden, there's no more Pac-10. That domino of Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC, all of a sudden, the conference realignments were just shattered. Because what followed was the Pac-10's demise. And then there's the Big 12 sitting there going, okay, good. Pac-10, you screw it up. We lose Texas, Oklahoma. Great. Come on with us. Next thing you know, the demise of the Pac-10 became the revival of the Big 12.
Yep. That's right.
Think about it.
That's right.
The Big 12 is the 3rd most productive conference in terms of monies and things of that nature.
Yeah, it is now. Yeah, officially this year.
Right over the ACC. Right. Okay? So you think about that. So now, okay, Rick, take that domino effect of conference realignment, which was unbelievable. That's when everything changed, when Texas and Oklahoma made that decision. So now my question is, okay, how can the Big Ten or the SEC increase their TV revenue? How are they going to do that? The only way they can do that, in other words, when the contracts are up, how are they going to demand more money? They can't do it staying status quo.
No, they can't. Exactly. 100%. 100%. That's
so the TV people say, here's what we're paying you. Here's what, and they're going to say, but now all of a sudden, I don't know who the team is. Who's the next Texas and Oklahoma?
I think it's coming from the ACC.
Well, think about it.
I think it's the next group out of the ACC. The Blue Bloods. Yep. Florida State, Clemson, and Miami are going to be the trigger. UNC as well.
Miami's to me is number one. Miami's number one.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Who's the next Texas or Oklahoma? Or there's maybe, and all it takes is one, Rick. Look what
Clemson
those
and Florida State
did.
Yeah.
Look what those two teams did to conference realignment. Everything that stands today was because of those two teams, those two college programs. They caused what the conferences are today by leaving the Big 12 and going to the SEC. And next thing you know, the dominoes it was a long line of them. So now, before these contracts expire, somewhere in the Big 10 or SEC has got to sit there and go, look, if we want to tell Fox, NBC, CBS, and ESPN, they're not going to tell the conference who they should take. Then that's not going to happen. But they can provide how much money they're going to spend. And if they want to increase their value, well, maybe, because who is going to bring eyeballs to the conference when you're televising? You want to see a Miami-Michigan game? Hell yeah. Back in the day, in the mid-'80s, Miami.
Florida State. Michigan. People still watch Florida State. Yep.
Yeah. But but Miami right now is the most relevant. And all it takes is one. So, again, you talk about if the ACC turns into the Pac-10, the demise, here's the kicker. Okay. You're talking about teams from where? The ACC, right? That's what you said. That was a question. Who's going to be the lead domino? That's going to affect realignment again. The next big realignment. Who's the next Texas or Oklahoma? Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is Miami. Okay, which conference does that come out of? The ACC.
ACC. Yeah.
If the ACC gets robbed, guess who's going to benefit? The Big 12.
Big 12 will benefit again. Yeah. And we'll see what
again.
Yeah. I'm interested in what the branding is going to look like when the big conferences happen.
Because
the big conferences
West Virginia, here's what's being back channeled. West Virginia sitting there going, hey, let's bring in Louisville, West Virginia Tech, and I don't know, whatever. Let's get the band back together and have the Big East back together. Okay, and then the Big 12 it'd be like, okay, you got East and West in the Big 12, or crossover plays.
Yeah, yeah.
So you got Louisville, Virginia Tech, Pitt. If the ACC, if that domino hits, I don't care. All it takes is one, Rick. Because what's the ACC have? What TV is the ACC from? ESPN. If the ACC loses Miami or Clemson or Florida State or Virginia Tech, the ESPN, they're losing money. They can't survive the money contracts because their eyeballs, what are they going to do? Put Wake and Duke on? Or Wake and Cal? Or Duke and Stanford?
No, not at all.
What would you rather see? Wake versus Duke or Miami versus Florida?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Miami's making a trip down to Tuscaloosa. You're making to watch that on a Saturday night at 8? Baby.
You think? Miami's playing LSU or Miami's playing Ohio State. The game days are going to be there. Which game, that game day, Fox's game day and ESPN at the same time be there? Well, it's going to be Miami versus somebody in those two conferences because they're relevant.
Yep.
Florida. So right now, like the president of Miami said, which makes sense, we're playing for conference realignments. We're playing for the next TV contracts. That's the next 4 years. That's what's going to happen. So which of the teams in the country are the most relevant that can bring prosperity to the conference where they go to negotiation with Fox or ESPN and go, oh,
no.
Whatever that figure is, this is what we want.
I agree. The top 4 brands are Miami, Florida State, Clemson, and Carolina. Those are your top 4 brands.
And you know what, Rick?
Yep,
all it's going to take is one. If the ACC loses Miami, or maybe Miami or Clemson, or Miami or Florida State, excuse me, it'll definitely 2. If it's two, the Big 12 is going to be, again, the Big 12, they're just sitting there going, all right, we got Pac-10's demise was our rewards. The ACC's demise is going to be our rewards. And West Virginia is hoping that happens because now you'll pull the old Big East teams back into the Big 12 for West Virginia. And that'll be some eyeballs. It's Pitt, West Virginia, a backyard brawl. It's West Virginia, Virginia Tech on a Friday night. They'd rather see that than Duke and Virginia Tech. I guarantee you.
I still think they're going to do the 60 teams or whatever and have 7, 8 divisions. I think that's what's going to happen.
Well,
that's what I think. So.
Eventually, but
first, you're saying, yeah, I got you. Yeah, you're probably right. It'll probably break down conference one more time, and then it will go to the.
Yeah, that's going to be the next phase.
Yeah,
that'll be the next phase, and the high stakes poker game. I agree with you. 60, 68, somewhere between 64, 68 will be the magic number.
Yep.
To get your leagues.
Yep.
There'll be no more SEC Big Ten, but right now they're not going to do away with the conferences. The next 4 years. The next
too much
TV
money
negotiation.
Yeah.
Now the one after that, which I will definitely be dead. I'll guarantee you that. Will not be alive, and that's okay. I'm good with that. Hey, like Coach Norton said, he didn't think I'd make it past 50. But that was just a thought that I had on this.
No, I like that. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Because I went back and I always said when Texas and Oklahoma left, they did it because they wanted to get that. They weren't going to get that national championship hunt with expansion being in the Big 12. They weren't. They'll take a 1-loss SEC team before they take a 1-loss Big 12 team or a 1-loss Big 10 team. Back how many years ago that was. So that's how I started thinking. I'm going, wow, this makes way too much sense. And I could see when you hear the potentials of Virginia Tech being in the Big 12 or that it makes sense. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean Tech can't get the SEC, but it's like anything else. When the SEC, when the commissioner starts negotiating that contract with ESPN, okay, and they think they're going to ask for more money, the conference is going to ask for more money. They better bring Miami with them to do that.
Right.
Or the Big Ten, same thing with Fox. And Notre Dame is going to be an independent forever.
Oh, absolutely.
Notre Dame
they'll be in there regardless. Doesn't affect it. They're not affected by any of this. Yeah, they just and they know that. That's why they never will join a conference. People still try to tell me eventually they'll be forced to. No, they won't. No, they won't. And Notre Dame is separate from everything.
I don't want to change the subject, but I'll make a comment on your previous conversation before I came on. FIFA, the soccer people, they are thrilled that it's in America, but it may never come back.
I know.
Because all of a sudden, you talk about the flopping. But hey, listen, I'm just a guy football guy. I watched soccer for the very first time. I watched the USA play in that last game. And you know what my impressions were? The skill was really impressive.
Well, sure it is.
Like golf.
Absolutely. Yeah,
what
right.
they can do with that ball, it's like golf. But the rules and enforcements and the acting, in other words, you can get hurt, lay on the ground with everything except the ambulance on the field. The only thing they didn't bring out is the ambulance. Okay? It's like they got shot and they're laying on the ground, and guess what? They don't have to leave the game, right?
No. No.
They don't have to leave the game. No. In the NFL, those trainers come on the field, you're out. You have to leave the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they need to change it. That rule will be changed because in the United States, oh no. See, in Europe, it's a given. They've been watching it for so long, it's just a part of the game. Here comes the United States, guys like me going, are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. So there's going to be rules. The good news is it's in the United States. The bad news, soccer is going to be held to be accountable.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They will
be. Which it already has been with the overrule of the player being held.
And you know what? The sad part is, and this is the sad part for soccer, they can blame it on Trump. Who don't give a crap but that's an indictment on soccer.
100%.
For them not to overturn that.
And an official that's been dinged before for cheating, somehow he's in the World Cup.
Well, they don't want to indict themselves, but it is an indictment on the soccer world that immediately the next day he stepped on his foot. Jesus. You think that's going to happen in soccer?
I know.
Right? You think? Listen, you could not set up enough drills to coach that boy to do that.
No.
You can't. Hey, by the way, if I want you to stop grabbing, holding the jersey or clutching the arm or grabbing him by the waist, yeah, okay. You just like your defensive backs, you can hold where they can't see it. You can teach it. But for me to tell a DB, hey, by the way, if this wide receiver beats you, you get that right foot or left foot and you step on his heel. Are you serious? That's an accident. That wasn't planned.
I know. It was the most ridiculous thing that anybody.
That's my take on it, Rick.
No, I'm with you. All right, Coach. Listen, great stuff. Probably see you on Friday again if you have time.
Yeah, cool. You know me. Hey, I'm coming up Sunday. I'm going to go to that Hockey Club thing in the Hotel Roanoke.
Okay,
good. The following Monday. Chuck Baker, Haley Toyota.
Okay.
Coming as his guest. So hopefully I get to shake Coach Franklin's hand, possible.
Okay. Good.
I know that. I go there because I love seeing Mike Burnham.
Okay.
That's the fun part for me.
Well, he'll be excited about that. Absolutely.
Cool. All right, buddy. Say hi to Tom.
All right, Coach. I will, man. Have a great rest of the day, Coach. Thanks, man.
Yep.
Appreciate you. Coach Elma, holding court here as always, which I wrote about. I didn't send him the article. I got to send him the article. I'll do that today, Coach, if you're still with us. I forgot to send that this weekend. Don't forget, Professional Door Incorporated here in the month of July, they're offering a $40 off the top of your service bill. They're going to come do some preventative maintenance. All you have to do is tell them that you heard us talking about it here on the show, 674-0008. Reach out to Travis and get it done. 674-0008. And you don't have to have it scheduled for July, but you have to get the schedule set up in July. All month long, celebrating 40 years in business, man. It is outstanding. Outstanding. And the NRV Super Bowl, we're going to be there for the Bash on the 18th, thanks to Terry and Amanda. And we're looking very, very forward to that. Can't wait. Cannot wait. Cannot wait. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Todd Grantham is going to join us next. Family Fencing, sponsor of our studios, 540-200-8294. McClellan Chiropractic, sponsor of our chat room. We're going to go see Mark on Wednesday. Maybe I'll get cracked as well. 155 Walters Drive. We're presented each and every day by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Don't forget about the jet skiing event they have come up, Little River Heating and Air at 553-2971. The attorney Ryan Pry, our BDST fan question of the week, 701 West Main Street in Medford, Trust and Estate Planning. National Bank, member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner of yours truly, and this program. Talked about professional door. Don't forget, $40 this month. Give them a call. Tell them you heard us talking about it. ReadySetFund.com. That's Bob Christ, CRST11 at Gmail. Series text messages to help you and your organization and group raise money quickly. Sundown Electric, 5-star reviews all the way across the board. I checked again over the weekend. Attention to detail, clear communication, honest. Lots of price considerations, too. They like to keep the pricing down. And Lawson's Mobile Home Supply. Since 1997, 540-381-8011 for windows, doors, and plumbing supply. All right, good stuff. From Coach Elmo to Coach Grantham. One former coach and one current coach in college. I'm telling you, look, he's got his relaxed shirt on. Still on vacation. He's got, look at the suntan. Look at the suntan. Wow, look at you.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're out in the sun. You don't have to work for a while, So enjoying it.
Yeah, had you been out fishing, man? You showed me a beautiful shot of the beach, and it was like maybe what?
Yeah, it's a little tough. This time of year, a little tough fishing. But, if you go out at night, you might find a shark or two, something like that. Corbin and I went fishing yesterday morning. We caught some fish, so it was pretty cool. And we went out fishing, and we left around, say, 6:30, something like that. And then we're coming back, and it's like noon. And I'm like, damn, it's already 5.5 hours into the day, man. And it ain't even 12 o'clock yet. So the days last a lot longer, which is a good thing. So it's fun.
Hey, I want to follow up on some, just get your opinion. We've probably talked about it before, but Coach Mo was just giving his theory about what's going to happen with future and expansion and all that. He believes that we're going to have one more expansion of the conferences before we get into the big leagues. Do you think that's going to happen, that we're going to see the leagues be influenced by the television deal before they break off, or what do you think? What do you think the timeline is on all that?
I think that it's probably, to get to where they finally want to go, it's probably going to be more in line with the TV contracts. In other words, like who's in what conference per se, that ends up being the issue. So I do think there'll be some adjustments down the road. Like I said, eventually I think it's going to become, a 60, 68, whatever that number is, team, because then it's easier to, it's easier to enforce the rules. Right now with 137, you got so many different spectrums of, budgets and things like that, it's kind of hard to enforce it, and it doesn't get enforced. So I think eventually it's going to break off to where you can have a real commissioner and you can have real enforcement, which would be good for the sport. And then you're going to bring more things back into play, just like, the NFL, you got a salary cap. So then you got to say, where do you want to put your money and do those kind of things. Right now, it's just, well, let's just go buy the guy. That's really what's happening. And it's wasteful spending per se. But that's because there's no rules. So I think eventually there'll be some kind of rules into play. I do think it'll end up being 60, 68, whatever that number is. And then they'll branch it off. And I do hope they try to make it a little more regional to create the interest for the fans and that kind of thing. Because there's a lot of tradition from games, Virginia Tech, Oklahoma, Nebraska. You can go all the way up, Michigan, Ohio State. I mean, whatever it is, UCLA, USC, all the way across the country. That you hope you keep those traditions in play, for the fans and really for the sport. But I do think eventually something's going to happen, whether it's this time or the next time. I really don't know. I think you're guessing. I don't think anybody knows. And I think, but eventually it's going to get. What's going to happen eventually is somebody's not going to be able to pay somebody, and then they're not going to be able to put the money in the check or into the bank account. And when that happens, the player's not going to play. So anyway, that's what I see happening.
Let's say the SEC and the Big Ten made an announcement separately, but probably in joint. Hey, we're going to go after certain teams in the ACC. Who would you guess would be the top 4 or 5 programs that would be poached if, say, that environment opened itself up again?
Yeah, I think it is all speculation, but I know that, the Big 12 has positioned themselves to where they could become the third conference once the TV alignments came in the 2030s, right? So when you start looking at teams to move, or everybody's going to go grab teams per se to bring to their league, the SEC really didn't want to bring anyone in from the standpoint of, dollar per value, okay, relative to who was coming in. But if that does happen, I do think with what Miami's done now, winning a national championship, they've kind of trended the right way. I think they'll obviously be a team. I think then when you start looking at, blue bloods and you start figuring in everything, football, basketball, and all that, you're going to have to say North Carolina, okay, for sure. And then obviously you got, Clemson is an interesting one from talking to people that I know that are connected to, say, the TV rights and things like that. Like Clemson's value, they think a lot more of themselves than, say, the people do. In other words, the SEC already has South Carolina, so why they need another South Carolina team? Academically, the Big Ten is probably the one. So when you start talking Big Ten, like they do have an academic interest. So that's going to make Virginia and North Carolina and Duke as possibilities, for that. Okay. Florida State, same thing is, you already have Florida, you got Miami. I mean, how many other schools do you need in the state of Florida? But obviously Clemson and Florida State will be where they go. So then you start talking, you got Miami, Florida State, you got North Carolina, you got Clemson, and you got Virginia. So, and I think all of those breed something a little different, but I think those will be the top five. And then from there, you'll just wait and have to see how it falls and everything. And I think that's when the Big 12 comes into play.
Coach, we talked about last time 12 and 13 personnel. What's some of the things that when you're defending a spread in today's college football, what are some of the things that you look at? So, I know you told me 12 and 13 was something you didn't really like to see. Coach Elbow just said that too.
You have to adjust how you play. I don't mind if we play it or not. I really don't care. I mean, you can play what you want to play. I mean, because there's advantages and disadvantages to that. What happens is when you go, first of all, the word spread is kind of like Bill Walsh's West Coast system. Like when I was in the National Football League, everybody says, well, they're a West Coast system. Before you knew it, everybody said they're West Coast. So like every play is in the West Coast system. Just like in college, they say spread. Well, every play is in the spread system. I think the biggest thing is when you talk about the spread, as I'm interpreting what you're thinking about is, one, you're using the whole width of the field to spread the formation, and the space creates the block. Meaning if I spread you out, you have to be in an alignment that you can cover down on people. In other words, there's a two displays. He's out wide. Well, you got to have answers for how you're going to play that, whether you're going to apex the overhang guy or you're going to lock it with your corner and your safety, those kind of things. And what that space does is it creates space for the runner. Okay, so that's one thing with the spread is the alignments will create space for the runner that you don't have to block guys. When everybody's in real close, you got to move them. Well, if you move them all out and spread them all out, you don't really got to block guys because the alignment creates the space. Okay, so that's one thing with that. Then the next thing is the run pass option, which we call the RPO, which in college, they've changed the rule to where basically like pro football and college are not the same because in pro football, if a guy goes 1 yard down the field and they throw the ball, it's a flag, which it should be. Okay, and in college, you can get up to 3 yards. So the problem is the run pass read for your back end guys, say your safeties per se, is a false read. You have to always honor the number 2 guy if he's going vertical because they're not going to call the guy for being downfield 4 yards. They're just not going to call that. Right? So you have to honor that. So then you have to say, how are you going to handle the run pass options with your back end guys? Okay. And then the quarterback obviously brings an extra element into it because then he becomes a player. So like, for example, if you play middle of the field defense, there's a guy in the middle of the field, that guy's wasted. Okay. He's wasted in a sense of he's really not a fitter in the run. He's more of an alley player late. He's a middle of the field player. So, and if you do that, okay, and you play middle, that guy's out of it. So now any quarterback option plays, you're only going to have one guy on the quarterback. And that's where Lamar, when I was with Lamar in Louisville and people tried to play middle of the field defense, the guy would sit there at the end of the line, which we actually changed how we played guys like him on the read zone because you can sit there, people call it surf, you're at the end of the line, he's looking, he's reading it, and it looks great. Then he just pulls the ball and just outruns you, and there's nobody there. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you can say that's great on paper, but that dude can't cover that guy. So you have to change how you play that. All right. But my point is in middle of the field defense, the offense actually has the advantage because you've wasted the middle of the field player. So then if you go to split safety defense, which now means your middle of the field's open, you can bring that safety into play more because you can play quarters and things like that, or even cover two to a side to bring an extra perimeter defender into the run game. Okay. That just exposes the middle of the field, for some play action passes and things like that. So to answer your question, the spread, the alignments create space. The ability of the quarterback to run the ball can give the offense an advantage if that guy can make a guy miss. So then you like to have 1.5 on the quarterback, meaning like, hey, this guy can play the rollback of the dive, but yet he can be inside out and somebody outside of him is going to help him cap the quarterback. So really, in essence, you got 2 guys on that guy. Okay. But then the other part of that is the RPO game. In other words, if you activate your safeties, well, the quarterback's reading a safety on every play particular. So the biggest thing there is when you say RPOs, is the RPO, say, to the back? Well, that means that he's reading the safety to the back. Is the RPO away from the back? So now a lot of people will activate the safety in the run fits away from the back. Well, that's where the RPO is. So if you get too nosy, they're going to throw the ball. So it's really about studying your ability to manage the RPO, okay, to make it a give read, but yet I can still be in a half-man box in my favor defensively to allow me to cap the run to keep it to a minimal game.
I like that. Good stuff. We're going to school again today with Coach Grantham.
Yeah.
Hey, how much value,
Chris? The whole thing with 12 is, look, and the reason I said 12 is because 12 makes someone on defense work. Okay, there are things you can do against 12 that you're not going to run the ball either now. Okay, and you have to have those. And but what it does is it is the traditional, like most people in college football will play a nickel 4-2-5. Okay, well, if you line up in 4-2-5 against nickel, you're going to get your ass kicked. Okay, I can just tell you that right now. Not that you can't do it on certain formations, not that you can't do it at certain times in the game, but if that's how you're going to play that offense, that's how you're going to play it the whole time, you're going to get your ass kicked. So it makes you adjust a little bit on defense. So that's what spring practice is for. That's one of the reasons I like going against Coach Mortensen is like we have that stuff so that therefore we can work our packages relative to personnels to give us a chance to, not go into a meeting on Monday of game week and it's brand new to people, and I think that's when you install that stuff.
Christian was asking about the safety position. How vital is that today to make sure you have a guy who's not only great at the position, but can also kind of help be a leader out there on the field?
Yeah, I think that's the position that's probably enhanced the most in modern college football and truthfully in the National Football League, because so first of all, the safeties have to have the ability to play in the deep part of the field. Like whether you're playing, a third, they got third of the field. Whether you're playing quarters, they got a quarter of the field. They playing half. So that half the field. So they have to play all these different back end techniques. Okay, but then they have to have the ability to drop down in the box just like a linebacker. All right, and they have to be able to fit just like a linebacker does on certain coverages. Okay, but the other thing that's really evolved is, for example, with the 12 personnel, like you're saying, like you can go to big nickel, which like we call Buffalo. Okay, big nickel. All right, so we have nickel, we have Buffalo. And what that means is we put a bigger guy as the nickel. So nobody else has to learn anything but the one guy. Okay, so that safety type guy could be that guy. Then you get to third down, like we were talking about before with all the tight ends that are kind of mismatches, like we were talking about last week with the tight ends on possession routes underneath and how hard it is to cover those guys. Well, then you can go to your dime package, and now one of those safeties becomes what we call your money linebacker. And what your money linebacker does is he's going to cover, the fourth most dangerous guy on the field. So what that means is your nickel goes to the third most dangerous guy. So your corners are on 1 and 2. Then your nickel, your star, we call it, he goes to the third most dangerous guy, which in 11 is the other slot receiver. Okay. Well, then when you go to your dime package, your money linebacker covers the fourth most dangerous guy, which in 11 could be the tight end. In 10 personnel, it's the other wideout. And that's what a lot of teams in the National Football League do. And not quite as much in college, but, Nick was always a big getting the dime. But in the National Football League, everything's about matchups. So that safety now becomes a linebacker underneath, and you're underneath zones and playing man-to-man on guys. So the safety position has probably evolved to be one of the most critical positions in the game to me. Anyway.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, Coach Elmo was talking about how in the end, Coach Saban changed his offense into a spread. How much do you think that crushed him, being a traditionalist, to have to go to the spread?
Well, Nick's whole thing is to play vertical field position. So what that means is you play good defense, okay, and you win special teams, because special teams is hidden yardage. In other words, if we're both equal, but I'm gaining 15 yards on a punt every possession, well, within 2 possessions, I've got 30 yards of field position. I really didn't move the ball. So, that's Nick's philosophy, was always to handle the vertical field position with solid defense and really good special teams. And then where he changed was he realized that in today's game, you had to be more explosive with the offense and they really didn't run the quarterback. Like, they would spread you out, but it was really more to give you space, like we just talked about. But then the run pass options of the throws off of the runs relative to the coverage you're seeing and the placement of the safeties or the corners or the nickel. And that's probably where they changed the most. And really Coach Mortensen is one of the guys that was a part of that change. When Dable came in down there to Bama, they really Kiffin, really Alex was one of the guys that really helped change that system to an RPO type system to allow you to have a run pass option on, every play.
Very, very, very interesting. All right, Coach, one more here. What's the best explanation for a rover position? You hear it used a lot on defenses, right? It seems like it's a versatility is attached to a rover. How do you look at the rover position on defense?
Yeah, so that's one that we used when I was at Virginia Tech. Some people will say it's the outside backer type guy, when people play what I call field defense, which means, hey, the nickel or the rover is to the field no matter what. Okay. So, I think that in today's game, you got to be careful about pigeonhole yourself into this guy can only do one thing. Okay. So like when you say, hey, I'm a rover, okay, what does that mean? Okay, well, if I'm just going to be, say, a field outside backer nickel, okay, well, what are you going to do when the nickel goes to the slot, goes to the boundary? You going to go cover him or not? If you don't, that means the linebacker's got to push out. So now the offense has got an advantage that way that they can throw the ball against the linebacker. Not that that's a bad thing on every down, but you want to have ways that you can get guy on guy. You know what I'm saying? And you can match that.
Right,
so
right.
The rover position for a lot of people is more of a field nickel. You know what I'm saying? Like he's the field nickel, field outside linebacker, per se. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you got to have answers or adjustments, because it's like anything. If you only do one thing, people are going to scheme you, right? And go that route. So that's the position with that.
So you've eliminated that from anything that
I mean that's just a name. I mean the positions are how do you play your field nickel? Is he a match guy? Okay, is he always a match guy, or is he just a field guy? Okay, that's one position. And then the other position is what we call like the boundary safety, strong safety type guy, because people will say he's an in the box guy. Well, the problem with that is in today's game with formations and multiplicity and all that, you have to be able to play like everything as a safety. Like, for example, our safeties in the spring play left and right. And the reason for that is we just rotate them so that they can learn to play all the different, and it's just a numbers count. If you're to the strong side, you have 2, 3, possibly 4 guys. To the weak side, you have 1 through 3, okay, based upon the formation. And it's just a numbers count. But if you say, hey, you're only going to play this position, what happens is you pigeonhole yourself into you can't get the next best player in the game. But in truth, because of the offenses now, and coaches are good, they're smart, they're going to study your tape. If you only like play this guy a certain way, well, they're going to find out to get him in a disadvantaged position. So the word rover is more of a specialized position. And I think that with college football today, even in the NFL, you got to have a little more flexibility with your key people. Now, you do have to put them in position that they can do the things that they do best. You have to do that. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, if you pigeonhole yourself into I can only play this or I can only do this, it'll catch up with you in the end.
How did the croquet matchup finish up yesterday?
I didn't have my whites. I didn't have my white shirt or my white.
I know.
So I wasn't allowed to participate, but I enjoyed watching a little bit of it.
Yeah, you missed the Wimbledon rules, didn't you, at croquet?
Yeah, I missed that. I missed that email when we got on the ferry to come over. I missed that email.
But it doesn't matter what you wear because your fishing game has been going extremely well. So that's
good.
That
and just hanging out on the beach, man. I'm good at just hanging on the beach, chilling out, watching people. I met some guy from Athens yesterday. I'm like, this guy from Athens. So he was from Athens, Georgia. Actually, was a Georgia Bulldog. So
well, yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So I'm not sure how his life's going.
Well, all right, brother. Well, enjoy. I know you got a couple more days, so enjoy, man, before you dive back into it. Appreciate you as always.
Take care, bud. See you.
All right, brother. There you go. Coach Grantham joining us from the lake house. He looks pretty relaxed. Did he look great? Did you see the tan? Good Lord. Looks great. What's up, Chris Lester? How are you? Yeah, he sent me a picture of croquet, but he didn't get the memo about you have to wear all white. Good stuff. Good questions too. Everybody's saying we should have Ask Elmo as a what would Grantham's be? Grantham's graduation? Oh. Sponsors jump all over. Just like you should be jumping all over Professional Doors offer of $40 off your service for your preventative maintenance of your garage door through the month of July to celebrate 40 years in business. Reach out to everybody up there at Professional Door, Travis Williams, 674-0008. States plays Belgium tonight. Those of you asking, 8 o'clock. Will I start it? Yeah. Will I finish it? No. Go USA, but no. Yeah, it is, Christian. We have great people on. All the credit goes to them. It's crazy. Absolutely. I mean, you just learn a lot. And now it kind of helps when you turn on a game and you're just watching. You think about something, you're going to see something, you go, oh yeah, this is what Coach Elmo said. This is what Coach Grantham said about, oh, okay, now. And I think that's why he's been so successful. Todd's, I don't care what you run. We don't care what you run. We've got our stuff. You can be a spread team. You can be a 12 team. You can be a 13 team. You can be whatever it is. We got you. And I like that. How you go down through it and you break down each. The Gridiron Gospel with Todd Grantham. Yeah, it seems like for him, because he was such a ferocious player, that gridiron needs to be thrown into it. And to their point too, they're seeing things that we don't see unless you're at the game. You're seeing what they see from a wide perspective if you're in attendance. You don't get that on TV. The players disappear on the TV shot. You don't see the wideouts until the ball goes out there. You don't see how the safeties are. You don't see the packages in nickel and so forth, right? You don't see it all. So it's not the same experience just when you're watching strictly from television. So it does change a lot when you get to see the whole enchilada, as it were. But in any event, great start here for a Monday. Tomorrow on the Tuesday edition, we know we'll have Marva. Ms. Marva joins us. Talk about what happened to her Marlins pitcher yesterday. And I just looked, it is getting absolutely just shredded. That they completely and utterly took that pitcher out with 92 pitches in a perfect game. There's been 24 perfect games. Just absolutely crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And I'm glad to see it, man. It's just everything that's wrong with pro sports today. Well, the only problem with that, Wayne, you could with Elmo. You couldn't with Grantham because he's in season during that time. But you could with Coach Elmo, yeah, have a game on and let him you get Dwight on there. That'd be great. That'd be great. I mean, I'd love to do something like that. And then you just get out of the way and let them do their thing. We could do that. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. I'm sure we could probably do a show like that, see how it goes. Get them both on there together. Get Bud Foster on there. That'd be great. Have them break down what they see. It'd be better for a college game. Maybe we could do something then. Yeah, I don't know. We'll look into that. Provided I'm still here doing this, you know. That's not a bad idea, though. I like that. I like that. Yeah, it would be cool to see him doing drawing diagrams and stuff. All right, we are outie for the day. Good stuff. Good start to the Monday. Everybody has a great first day back to work. Yeah, that's right. Work now. Thanks to Coach Elmo. Thanks to Coach Grantham. We'll see you tomorrow on the Tuesday edition. We'll have some shorts up on the channel highlighting the show today. Will be a lot of fun. Take care, everybody. We will see you tomorrow on the Tuesday edition. Be good.